Hi guys, this is Lalana. Thanks for tuning into The Sovereign Path. So today we're going to talk about the number one problem that twin flames face on this journey. So this is a little bit of a trigger warning video for a few people. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there before we begin. And so the trigger warning here is in your highest and best good. And I am never out to sort of trigger anyone intentionally or for no good reason and things of that nature. So the main problem that people hit on the twin flame path is that, and this is perpetuated a lot throughout the twin flame community and other twin flame information, and that is that the twin flame, the purpose of the twin flame and the purpose of finding out that you're a twin flame and going down the twin flame path is to come into physical romantic union with your twin flame. This is not the purpose of twin flames. And since it's perpetuated so greatly in so many different avenues, we all can get the wrong idea about the purpose of this path, what it's here to do, why you're on it, what your soul guidance is saying, what your higher self is saying, what your oversoul is saying, as opposed to what your ego is saying and what your ego wants. So the ego wants to have this romantic connection with your twin flame. The ego is coming from a sense of, I need this thing in order to make me feel whole, complete, better, validated, whatever it is. So the ego is moving from a third dimensional template in relationships. This is the template that we have all been running through this lifetime and however other many lifetimes you've been incarnate here on earth. And so this template is a program that we have all been indoctrinated into. I need to be in romantic partnership to feel complete. I need to be in romantic partnership because that's what society states. I need to be in romantic partnership because of X, Y, Z, whatever it is. This is a program that we have been indoctrinated into. I need to be in romantic partnership because of fill in the blank. So the twin flame dynamic phenomena, whole thing, sort of gets big and stereotyped and blown out of proportion. And people are automatically feeling like, oh, this is the love of my life. I need to find my twin flame. I need to look for my twin flame. Who is my twin flame? Where can I find this person? This is the end all be all. I've talked about this in other videos as well. This is the end all be all. This is my other half. This is the one who's going to complete me. This is, the other part or the other, side of my soul. And so all of these things. And so this means it's coming through the ego lens as this is the person that I'm supposed to be with romantically. So putting the romantic aspect of the twin flame phenomena aside, because you are going to be in romantic interest, romantic dynamic, romantic connection with a twin flame in the beginning stages if you are on a true twin flame journey. Yes, that is going to happen. Yes, it's going to be mutual. No, it's not going to be limerence. No, it's not going to be one-sided in the beginning. It's going to be a mutual, romantic, intimate interest that two people have for each other when a twin flame situation begins. I have my other videos, the signs and stages. I have a 3-part series on that, the signs and stages that you are on a twin flame path. So if you haven't watched that, I would suggest that because it gives you all of the sort of ins and outs and details of what I'm talking about in this video, namely the romantic aspect of this in the beginning stages. So although we have this idea and the ego likes to run with this idea of that this is my person and that this is my, other half of my soul and all of these sort of things, this is not the purpose of a twin flame path. This is not your purpose if you are a twin flame. You did not incarnate here on earth for your purpose to be to come into romantic union with your twin flame in a physical 3D capacity, like all of your relationships that you have had up until the point of meeting your twin flame. That is not why it's here. And that is what has so many twin flames spinning and going round and round and hitting the same walls over and over again. It's also the reason that so many twin flames get confused on whether this path is karmic or whether it's a twin flame path. Because karmic relationships, they run on a pattern. They run on a repeating pattern that you continue to hit the same wall and the same wall and the same wall over and over again. The purpose of karmic relationship is to come in, show you the lesson that you continue to run, show you the program and the pattern that you continue to repeat, regardless of which person you're in relationship with. The karmic comes in to show you, hey, you need to break this pattern, you need to break this program, you need to break this addiction, whatever it might be. I am coming into your world as a member of your soul family. The karmic partner is a member of your soul family, and they are coming in to help you, to assist you to break through that pattern, right? So a lot of the karmic situations that we feel with a karmic partner are going to feel similar with a twin flame. And so that's why a lot of these relationships get confused. But the thing is a karmic partner is coming in to show you this lesson or maybe one or two lessons, and that's it. That's their purpose in your life, is to help you to break free of that. The twin flame comes into your life as your same incarnate self to assist you to break free, not from that lesson, or to stop running this one program or this one pattern. It's to break you free from the 3D reality entirely. It's to break you free from the separation consciousness that has you running the programs and the patterns and the imprints and the childhood wounds and the karmic ancestral, timelines and programs and all of these sort of things. The twin flame purpose and the reason that you are incarnate here as a twin flame with your twin flame is for you to go through an ascension process. It's for you to awaken. It's for you to go through ego death. It's for you to break all of the programs and the patterns and the imprints that you have been running, that have been keeping you locked in, been keeping you small, have been keeping you asleep, have been keeping you in a 3D program that has you basically running on autopilot. The reason that you have incarnated your same self into this lifetime is to assist you to break free of all of those aspects that are keeping you in a lower vibratory frequency, right? You are an eternal being, you are a light being. We have incarnated into this physical reality to have this experience for our soul growth, but not to stay in this experience lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. At some point, souls do ascend. Souls do ascend out of the matrix. They ascend out of the third dimensional reality and the separation consciousness that exists here. This is the reason that souls go through awakening processes, is to pull them out of the 3D and put them into the 5D and above. This is the purpose of a twin flame. This is why your twin flame is incarnate here with you, is to break you free from all of those things. So the romantic aspect that is going on within a twin flame dynamic is to shift you out of the third dimensional template of romantic relationships. So to shift you out of the programs of jealousy, out of the programs of codependency, out of the programs of any sort of attachment style, whether it be anxiety or, anxious attachment style, avoidant attachment style, dismissive avoidant, all of those sort of things that you may be running that are based on a core wound that you have. So if you have an abandonment wound, your twin flame is going to be reflecting that abandonment wound back to you in order to help you heal it, and vice versa. If you have a core wound around self-love, or a lack of self-love, I should say, then your twin flame is going to be reflecting that back to you so that you can heal that and move out of it. If you have any ancestral karma that just keeps going round and round in patterns, your twin flame is going to reflect that back to you. They are going to reflect back to you all the aspects of your shadow self in order for you to break free from them. A twin flame is also going to reflect all of your light back to you, so that you remember that the shadow aspects of you that you have been attached to, or should I say that your ego has been attached to, have been dimming your light, right? So this is where that, that paradoxical aspect of the twin flame phenomena happens, where they're reflecting your shadows, but they're also reflecting your light. This is purposefully done by the higher self in order to make the twin realize, I am light embodied. I am a spark of God creation. I'm not this karmic program. I'm not this ancestral karma that I've been dragging around for however many lifetimes. These are lessons that I've learned. These are experiences that I've had for my soul growth. But now it's time for me to shift out of that and shift back into unity consciousness and to a higher frequency of the fifth dimension and above. This is the purpose of a twin flame dynamic. And the romantic aspect of that is for you to shift out of the third dimensional template, as I said, of how romantic relationships generally run in the 3D, which is a largely distorted template because it's based on codependency and all the things that I just mentioned, and to shift into the fifth dimensional frequency of divine union, which is interdependence, right? This is a sacred union template that twin flames and other awakened beings and starseeds are here to birth in a higher frequency, and we call it New Earth at this point, in a higher frequency of the fifth dimensional plane that we are now experiencing the 3D, 5D shift. This is part of what this is. This is why we're having these mass awakenings on the planet right now. So the twin flame is here to awaken the self out of the 3D and to awaken the self back into the unity consciousness that the one unified field has always existed at and above that, right? And so this is why I keep harping on how important it is to know, if you're on a twin flame path, whether or not you are actually going through an awakening process in the dark night of the soul, because that's what this is. This is alchemy. This is shifting your lower vibratory frequency from all of this gunk and all of this stuff and all of these shackles and programs and imprints and all of these things that are making you feel like, this is my identity because of this wound, and this is my personality because of this trauma happened. The twin flame is here to shift you out of that. Awakening is here to shift you out of that and to come back in and open up your higher chakra systems, to open up your third eye, to open up your intuition, to speak your truth through your throat chakra, to open up your heart chakra and the toroidal field, which is your true compass in your world. This is the true compass, is the toroidal field of your heart chakra. To break open that higher knowing of the crown chakra and to come into remembrance of who you are, of who everyone is, and to come back into that unity consciousness, right? This is the purpose of the twin flame path. But the problem is that the ego self, the false identity self, which is the ego, and the mind has become so attached to these past templates that we have been running in romantic partnership for so long that it easily gets attached to the idea that my twin flame is supposed to be my physical romantic partner. That's why they're here. This is what they're supposed to do. But it isn't what they're supposed to do. They are here to shift you out of the program that is telling you that romantic partnership looks like this, and it looks like this, and it acts like this, and it breathes like this, and it's supposed to be this, and all of these things. And why isn't it that with them, right? Why is it that I can have that same romantic partnership that I've always had with a soulmate or with a twin flame or with a non-family member or non-soul family member or anybody else, but I can't have that same partnership that I've had in the past with my twin? Why is that? Because that's not the purpose. Because that's not the purpose. And that's why when we try to make the 3D template of romantic relationship fit into a twin flame dynamic, it doesn't fit. That's why we go in and out of separation. That's why we're always like, why are we triggering each other all the time? What is this? Why do we go into separation? Why are you getting under my skin so much? Why am I going through a spiritual awakening? Why are all these things happening? Because you've been activated by your same soul by your higher self, by your oversoul, through your same self who's incarnate here, to shift you out of all of those things that have you running all of those programs that your ego is so attached to, right? This is why you can have all those old patterns and all of those programs and partnerships with anybody, but you can't have them with your twin. It's why you're doing this with your twin. It's why it doesn't work. It's because you're trying to fit that old template that we've all of us have taken on into a fifth dimensional higher vibrational frequency. And it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. Twins are here to birth a higher frequency within romantic relationships, within all relationships, within all interdependent relationships. Twins are here to do that. Other star seeds are also here to raise the frequency in different ways. You know, anyone who's going through a true spiritual awakening, part of their purpose is to raise the vibration of the collective consciousness, right? It's to come out of the third dimensional reality of the matrix and all the programs and all the ego, you know, conditioning that we have taken on through several lifetimes. Earth itself is making a grand shift and a grand jump. This is why we're talking about the 3D, 5D split all the time. Twin flames are a part of this 3D, 5D split. And so we really need to be paying attention to the real reason that true twin flames are going through spiritual awakening, dark night of the soul, and alchemical process, and ascending out of the third dimensional reality and into the higher frequencies of the fifth dimensional reality. That's the purpose. That's why we're doing it. So it isn't just a matter of, a lot of people are awakening and that's just kind of what's going on right now. And, my twin's kind of awakening me and I don't really know what it is. And this is what it is. It's shifting you into a higher vibration. It's bringing you out of separation consciousness and bringing you back into unity consciousness, which is who you are, right? It's the embodiment of your higher self again. It's the embodiment of God's source creation universe again, that we've all forgotten because we've been asleep in the 3D, right? We have taken on those experiences for our growth. And now it's time to go and have other experiences. And part of those other experiences is going through the spiritual awakening so that we can start to experience the fifth dimensional frequency again of unconditionality, the true meaning of love, of unity consciousness, and all of these sorts of things. So the faster that we get on that train in regard to what the twin is actually here to do, the faster that you'll shift out of this pain and suffering, namely for the divine feminine, that is holding on to this old vibration that is telling the feminine that the twin flame path needs to look like this in romantic partnership. And so many of the things that the divine feminine is doing in regard to taking courses and doing uploads and transmissions and meditations and all of these things are for that aim. They're for the aim of the end goal. The end goal being, I need to be in physical romantic partnership with my twin flame. And if I'm not, then that means somehow I'm not doing this right? Somewhere I'm failing because I'm still not in romantic physical partnership with them. This is something that is really important that I'm going to keep hitting on, because the main thing that you need to do, your end goal, is to come back into partnership with self. That's the reason for this path. That's your end goal, is to come back into unity with self, is to come back into oneness with self, to come back into inner union. It's to drop all of those programs that are telling you that everything needs to look the same way that it looked in all of your relationships in the past, and you're wondering why your twin flame relationship never looks like that, and it's always sort of doing something opposite than anything that you've ever experienced before. And instead of surrendering into, okay, this is an ascension process. That's what this is an ascension process. My other self is actually here helping me to ascend. My other self is actually here as my greatest teacher in this reality, as my greatest guru in this reality, because that is what is actually going on here. my other self is here to actually break me free from all of the things that I've been running and all of the suffering that I have been enduring for however long. That's why they're here. They're actually here to set me free. The problem is that the divine feminine, for the most part, is translating this through the ego as, why am I always having to suffer? And I did a video on this as well. Does the divine feminine have to suffer on this path? So you can check that out if you'd like. No, that's not the point at all. The suffering is coming from the idea that the ego is attached to the fact that this is supposed to be a romantic partnership based on what you've had in your past. And that's why everybody's looping. That's why people are getting stuck. That's why people are spinning, because the ego is saying one thing and the higher self is saying something else. And so who's going to win? Until you get far enough into this path, into the ascension path, which if you're a true twin flame, you will, because if you're not a twin flame, you're not going to be going through an awakening. That's just what it is. But as soon as you get further enough on this path, you start to release all of those aspects that are keeping you locked in to what the ego keeps saying, right? At some point, you start to understand the ego is actually leading me astray constantly. When I'm reacting, I feel like shit. When I'm triggered, I feel like shit. When I'm resisting everything, I feel like shit. When I'm trying to make this work and it's just not working, it feels like shit. And the reason that it feels so bad is because you're listening to what your ego is telling you. And your ego doesn't know your higher self. Your ego knows separation, and it knows lack, and it knows fear. It doesn't have any idea what the higher vibration of consciousness feels like. The ego is here to help you escape a lion if you happen to be out in the woods and it comes at you and you know how to run. It's a fight or flight mechanism. It isn't a mechanism that shows you or that has any idea of what union is, or what unity consciousness is, or what unconditional love is. So we're listening to this, basically this voice that we've been hearing for so long, that we've identified as self, that isn't self. It isn't self. It's the false self. It's the false identification of self. The true self is the higher self that is doing its best to guide you out of the falsities of all of these things and the suffering and the fear and the pain that we keep running, because we keep looking at the twin flame as some sort of savior. Save me from all this. As soon as I'm back in romantic partnership with you, I will feel safe again. I'll feel validated again. I'll feel loved again. I'll feel better again. I'll be able to breathe again, until the next separation comes, and then you feel like you fell from grace again. This is because the self-love is not there yet. The inner union is not there yet. And the ego is telling you, look outside of yourself for it. Look at all of these other external people and things and stuff to help you fill the void of not feeling love within. This is what the twin flame path elicits. This is what an awakening path elicits. And so as soon as we get into a place where we understand this path is actually the one thing, the only thing that is going to remove me from all this suffering. It's going to remove me from all this lack, and it's going to remove me from all of this fear, and it's going to remove me from that chitter chatter that's always going on in my head that's telling me to do certain things that at this point I understand are the same sort of patterns and programs that I've always been running that never really worked. And those same patterns and programs definitely don't work with getting my twin flame back. They don't work. Why don't they work? Because they're based on a 3D template. And the twin flame is based on a 5D template. That's why. So we're trying to come at this from an old, diagram that we can't even draw in anymore. And the new diagram, which isn't new because this is who you truly are, that and above, you just forgot because you went through the amnesic state when you incarnated here. That new diagram is over here saying, hey, you're gonna feel way better once you get over here. If you stop like holding on to all of these things, you're gonna feel way better, right? So as I said in my other video, 3D relationship versus 5D union. So the 3D relationship that everybody seems to want on this path with the twin flame is never going to take hold in a way that we're going to feel fully sustained, fully loved, fully all of those things, because it's still going to be coming from lack. It's still going to be coming from that place that is not back in alignment with the true self and the embodiment of the higher self, because that exists in the 5th dimensional frequency. The point of an awakening is to shift you into that higher frequency. It is removing all of the things within you that are no longer serving you. It's like these programs that you've been running in the 3D, and these wounds and these patterns and these imprints, they're not serving you anymore. That's why you're going through an awakening process. These things aren't serving you anymore. The awakening process is now what is serving you. And that's why your twin flame is here, to shift you into something that is actually serving you now as you ascend into the higher aspect of self and you come back into self-love and back into union. At that point, is romantic relationship on the table for you and your twin that's actually lasting because it's no longer running any separation programs? Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. Is that a guarantee? No. And I will say that over and over again. No, it isn't, because we do have free will choice in this reality. And as I've said in those other few videos that I've mentioned, you get to a point on this path where you come into inner union, and inner union is peace. Inner union is freedom. Inner union is completely and utterly sustainable, and it feels like bliss. And that's the part of the awakening process that people always say, I always hear awakening feels like bliss. This feels like absolute hell. It's the end, after you get through the awakening, that it starts to feel like peace and like bliss. The beginning stages, the middle stages, and for most people, the awakening path takes years to get through. Yeah, it does feel like hell. And I've gotten into that into several other videos that I've made in the past. But it's the suffering is the number one problem on the twin flame path. It's the suffering mainly by the divine feminine, because the divine feminine is wanting this path to be something that it's not. And this is what creates the suffering, right? That romantic partnership that the divine feminine pines for so much is coming from a place of lack within. And until that place of lack within has been healed, and that inner union and that embodiment of the higher self has been reestablished, that pattern and that suffering and that fear-based situation is just going to continue to repeat. It's going to continue to loop. And so this is why this is the major problem for most twin flames on the path, is that they think this path is one thing when it's actually something else. And as soon as we get on board with what it is, which is ascension, and you start moving through the process and surrendering to it, you will come into a place of inner peace and inner love. And at that point, if both twins choose it, you will come into sacred union, or you will have a high vibrational physical relationship with them of some sort, or you will, for some people, have a high vibrational, relationship with a soulmate. There are a lot of different aspects of how this thing can play out once you get into inner union. But until you get into inner union, and until you shift out of the 3D programming that you've been running, it's not going to work, because we're trying to create, a square peg and a round hole, and they don't fit. And so this is what's causing so many of the problems for people on the twin flame path, is that they are wanting something that they cannot have until they have gone through certain steps to achieve inner union with self first. So the awakening process is essential and crucial and non-negotiable on this path, and it is the purpose of twin flames. Once you get through it, and then you can come into sacred union, that's the purpose as well. We are birthing sacred union in a higher dimensional frequency template for New Earth. So that's what I have for you guys. I hope that helps. You guys have an awesome day.